It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. I'll be live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we chat about guns for about an hour. This is episode 839, so we've been doing the show for a little while. Over the years, the show has developed and changed and evolved over the years, I guess now. And right now it's panel discussion. We gathered the participants from the panel from the gunchannels.com community we built. It's going on 6 years old. Place for conversations like this. And we got Clovertac jumping in from Texas. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
And then we got Dead Horse jumping in from Utah.
Howdy, thanks for having me.
Gizzard jumping in from Kansas.
Hey, G, thanks for the invite.
And Tardot jumping in from Michigan.
Thank you for the invite, sir.
Welcome, guys. And I am down here in Arizona. If you'd like to be part of the show, let us know over on Gun Channel side, and I'll drop that into the platform out there that doesn't know most of your names, hasn't showed up at most of the towns where y'all are, doesn't meet up with everybody in places throughout the year, and doesn't help each other out, right? But we broadcast over there because it facilitates this for the time being until a platform we value like guntube.org or Gunstreamer or something else comes along to offer this tool, right? This live streaming. But through the link out there for anybody that wants to chat with us over on Gun Channels, and we're watching the chats on both sides. We've got 11 people joining. Today's Thursday. Normally we talk about training, and of course we're going to talk about training rifles because Dano's not in here, and he's the one that brought up training, and he never shows up for Thursdays, so we're not going to talk about training. What did you mean by wanting to bring up training rifles, Glover?
If I can get my mute button off here. There is a Moss Model 45 at the local gun shop that I've been looking at, and looks like it's priced very reasonably. And best I can tell, it was a 22 version basically of a Mauser. It's definitely a trainer. So I've seen several other of those military trainers out there. And I'm not, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand a lot of them, for example, that I've seen are like, I just don't know the history behind, I guess, the trainer. I'm guessing obviously ammunition was cheaper, but as far as like marksmanship and stuff with those rifles, I don't understand. I guess I don't understand the concept of a trainer in that respect. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
You've got something like a Mauser. I mean, a 22 ballistically is not going to be that. So
There's more to it, though. So you got to figure, especially in wartime, you got draftees. So not everybody even knows which end is which. And then you got Marines who are going to break everything. So let's say you give them a perfectly good Garand, and then they break it right away before they even know how to work it. So this way you give them a little 22 to break while they're learning how to shoot. But no, it's mostly just manipulations and drill, and which means walking around and marching with the dang things, and then other skills, just dealing with it, living with it. I imagine a lot of times also they were for kids, right? For your preparatory stuff, your for me, Civil Air Patrol or whatever, JROTC or
Right.
Junior Marines or whatever they're called. Not Junior Marines. What the hell are they called? Preliminary for kids. So anyway, they're going to get
ROTC?
no before. Well, I don't think they call it that, but whatever the high school versions, though, right? Where you're learning stuff. They're going to use them for those type of situations. And then I think, like you're saying, just for training, when it was a whole bunch of training going on for cost, like we just couldn't get errands out to everybody, and we, could get those out faster, maybe. costs less for bullets. You know, it's a lot less lead because it's not all about marksmanship. It's about if you know how to shoot a gun and get it down range, how difficult it really is it to figure out the difference between a 22 and a whatever you're shooting, air end or a bolt action.
Well, I know that most of the trainers seem to be a bit pricey. So, did they not?
Oh yeah,
I guess they didn't. They didn't make as many of them because they weren't going to see action and that sort of stuff. So, are they a little bit more rare?
I imagine they'd made fewer because they weren't going to war. Yes, and they probably weren't respected. I would imagine that's the kind of stuff that can get stuck into a back room at an arsenal or back place that gets a leak and they get all wet. All right, they're written off because they weren't really using them. You know, I suspect that's the attitude towards something like that throughout the years when, you know, when you have World War level inventories to deal with that you don't use and don't really foresee any need, especially when something goes from bolt action to semi-auto. That's sort of like when everything went from flintlock to percussion, you know, except for those that they converted. Basically, they just said, okay, I guess we're technically going to keep all these old-fashioned technology guns, but we know no one's ever going to use them again except for maybe a parade, right? So maybe those trainers after, you know, we went to M16s, you know, what do they care about World War II trainers anymore or World War I trainers even? So maybe they just got lost into history, into the back archives, or got sold, and, you know, somebody buys a surplus gun for $3, they respect it like a $3 gun. It doesn't get kept forever.
Yeah, that would make sense. Now, where does because I've got a couple of the older Mossberg rifles. Now, were those less of a trainer and more of like a military competition rifle, or what do you know? Where do they fall into that category, or do you know?
I pretty much said everything I know about trainers. I don't know.
Gotcha.
So I might know. Does anybody else
Yeah.
know about military trainers and stuff?
Be a good conversation for Logan.
That's interesting. The more I talk to Logan, I suspect his interests are Revolutionary Civil War stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or he just knows a lot about that stuff. But I'm tough. We kind of all like everything, right? But knowledge-wise, you don't really find out until you start having a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden they know everything about the subject matter, and you're like, oh well. But I imagine he would be a good source for that.
I think a lot of the trainers went to the CMP, did they not?
Oh, that probably makes a lot of sense. And now they're out at ranges.
And I know that some of the trainers that I'm interested in, like the Winchester Model 52s, certain ones of those are upwards of $1,000 now for a single shot 22. So they're definitely desirable and sought after.
Now, I'm not placing the 52. Is it like this Moss? Like I said, the action, everything else is like Mauser-esque. Is the 52 got the characteristics of what rifle, or does it?
I don't know, maybe if I was to say like what rifle is it closest to, I don't know, maybe it's really not like based off like a model, like a Winchester Model 70 action or anything like that, but maybe a 1903 Springfield. That'd be my guess. I'm not sure if it is necessarily an exact copy of any one gun.
Yeah,
I
and
know
that's
that they
what.
started making them during World War One, though.
Yeah,
And,
that's where my curiosity was piqued. Is because, like I said, I've got a Mossberg here that's more of a competition rifle. To me, is the look and the feel and the style of it than it is any kind of trainer, but it's often referred to as a trainer. But then this one I'm looking at has like a Mauser action and it's called a trainer. And I'm like, well, okay. But then the other thing too is this And I don't know. I don't know if they did. Maybe they did something to be able to distinguish them apart quickly or something, so they don't necessarily look like. But the stock is. I'm going to use the term sporterized on this one, and so I thought that was maybe a deal breaker at first, and then I got to looking at this Model 45 online, and I can't find a single solitary picture anywhere that looks any different than the one that's up there on the rack. So apparently, all of the stocks were sporterized. It wasn't a military style stock. So I'm like, okay, maybe they did that to be able to quickly distinguish. Well, that's a trainer, and this is the real thing. You know what I mean?
Well, and they had a.
I don't know if they cared if a trainer looked anything like the real gun. If their job was to get you to figure out how to shoot when they tell you to, then what do they care what you're shooting? You could be shooting a BB gun.
That's true.
I think it was a way to get a gun into someone's hand, cheap and cost effective. Someone that has like never even held a gun before, possibly, right? Especially back like during World War One, stuff like that. But there was specialized trainers like for the Marine Corps snipers used a 22 LR trainer, and that gun goes for over $1,200 now. That Winchester does, and so that was a different 52 than the common 52. So even within the different branches, they had different versions based on, I guess, who they were actually training with it, right? And then I think there were some civilian-based versions that were never really used for military training, but they still called them trainers.
Is that so that when the Marine snipers were shooting at people in Germany, they gave them 22, so they didn't accidentally overshoot them and go straight through to Russia, which was our allies at the time?
Yeah,
That's a possibility.
Quit shooting Russia. Here, we're only going to give you guns that can only shoot Germany.
That's
But
a possibility.
But I'd be careful with the term trainer, because I do know that there was some companies that made so-called training rifles, but they were disconnected from the military. They were never used in actual any kind of military training, right? So they were more civilian trainers. And but I'm pretty sure a lot of the actual military trainers ended up going to the CMP, at least like a lot of the Winchesters did and whatnot. I know Mossberg was used by the military. And I know a lot of those ended up in CMP hands, and probably ended up in the hands of a lot of youth shooting sports organizations and stuff like that to teach kids.
Yeah, so that means going out to I mean, I guess CMP does send them out to ranges, but also to kids to take home. And they're in some kid's closet, and now in some guy's gun safe because that was their first gun, and then they gave it to their kid, right? Hopefully.
Yep. And those are getting far and few between. They really are. They're just so desirable right now. Like almost every Winchester 52 that I've seen that was made before the 70s is just worth a fortune, an absolute fortune. And I think I believe I remember seeing some ads where they were like $39 and stuff. Like you couldn't even give those away at pretty much at one point in time. And now they're just, over $1,000 guns.
It's what happens when they stop making things.
And they all have a reputation of shooting very, very well, and that's why a lot of guys did, go either sporterize them or change them up and use them in silhouette competitions and stuff like that.
Oh heck yeah! The Mossberg I've got it'll hang with almost any competition rifle out there. Modern. I'm talking about modern competition rifle. I mean, don't get me wrong, in the hands of somebody that knows what they're doing, especially. I mean, a modern competition rifle, somebody can walk the floor with you if you're using it. But especially as far as accurate enough to really start learning, and even to the point of being semi-competitive, honestly, it's really astounding. This particular one I've got, how well it works. For a competition rifle, for it to be, like I said, it's this weird thing that was my understanding and why I kind of wanted to talk about it. I was wondering if anybody knew anything any different because, I was looking at this one trainer. This trainer I'm looking at appears to be a totally different, like you were talking about, Dead Horse. it's the terminology. I think people interchange that kind of like maybe magazine and clip or something, and maybe they don't need to be using the word trainer in the sense of, you know, certain rifles, but yet they do for some reason. But it seems weird. It seems like there's two different classifications of them for some reason.
Well, like when you first said trainer, I'm thinking bolt action single shot gun, something that you train someone what a gun's all about, or marksmanship, or how to use a range, when to wait and when to, just a gun that is of no consequence. It's there to fill space because you're teaching all the other stuff. It's just a training gun. Then you graduate to a gun that does something other than make noise and throw a bullet.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at. I think it's my perception of the word trainer, which where the problem comes into play. Because even in military application, I mean, that would, it would still apply. Like you said earlier, it doesn't really matter necessarily what it looks like. It's there just to fill a void. It's there just to be a piece of equipment while you're actually training for other things.
And it needs to be there. You got to
marksmanship.
have a gun. It has to be a gun because of its, it's going to be a gun later. But it's not like you can just put a piece of wood there necessarily. You want it to still have a gun, but then it doesn't need to be the gun you're going to go to battle with.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, when you're firing at the same time, or if you're that type of stuff, it needs to be able to function. Yeah, right. A wooden gun wouldn't work.
All right. Well, so as a palate cleanser, with that said, the best gun made out of wood. So anything from just a little, thing cut out that you just say bang, 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 or one of them things that shoots rubber bands or some other kind of contraption that you would buy at like a truck stop or a gift shop at a place, or something maybe clever you've seen at a gun show, or something your grandpa made in the shop. But best, most clever, most interesting wooden gun made out of wood. Doesn't have to be a toy. Usually they're toys, but Targa.
Oh, I'd go with, like you were saying, the little rubber band guns you can find almost everywhere with the little crank that goes in the backside. I always find those just entertaining in the end, and our kids got a couple of them.
Hold their interest, or is it like, oh, okay, I have that now, I'm done?
Oh no, it's interested. Our kids have heavily been into guns, and so when they get little toy guns like the cork guns and the rubber band guns, they're heavily interested in them, and they play with them like crazy, and they're awesome. They're good little toys.
What type of rubber band gun was it, Tardot?
The ones I've seen is we've had the ones where it's kind of got, I say a crank, but it's kind of got like a little fan on the backside.
Yeah, it's like a little wheel lock almost or something.
Yeah.
Cattle wheel.
Yeah.
All right. So, Gizzard.
Well, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen one.
You've never seen a wooden gun?
Not all wooden. Yeah.
All right. That's valid. When do you get Gizzard a training wooden gun? Maybe something like the block.
There you
go. Ghost. Ever seen a wooden gun? Do you have a preference?
Oh yeah. Well, I've got I call him an acquaintance, isn't really a buddy, but he's someone here that lives here in my town, and he does woodworking. He's a retired guy, does woodworking, and he's got a huge gun collection. But every time he gets a new gun, he also carves a wooden replica and hangs them on the wall. And so every gun that he owns, he's got a wooden replica hanging on the wall. They're like stained. It's beautiful. It's awesome.
All right. I'd like to see pictures of that because that sounds super cool. Maybe even
It
video.
is super cool. Yeah.
Dead Horse.
I don't know. I'd have to pick probably some of the neat rubber band guns that I've picked up at the gun shows over the years and stuff like that. I mean, rubber band guns have come a long way, I guess, in technology, and there's just some super neat designs that are just absolutely amazing out there, and almost like a replica of any modern or old, pistol or rifle. Also, I mean, you can get them in just almost every style.
All right. Even though you're copying off of Tardot, how about Clovertech?
Man, I don't even know. I know you can jump in on this and give a little more insight, but there's a section in the J.M. Davis Museum of wooden guns that some dude, carved out, and I'm talking about detailed. They're correct me if I'm wrong, G, but they're like fully articulating and all that good kind of stuff too, right? Those are pretty awesome.
What's going on?
Oh, it says ding, 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 and it's some dumbass shit. So it you up, and it was shitty. Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't anybody talk about those crazy wooden guns at the J.M. Davis? Am I wrong, or is that the guy who was the guy that created forensics or whatever? Bullet forensics?
Yeah, that's the guy that.
No, that was a different guy. That was the guy that had the collection of like guns and nooses and creepy shit.
Yeah, he was different.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, it was another similar thing where a guy had this collection, like what Ghost sounds like, what Ghost's friend is doing, except this guy, whatever happened, and now his wooden guns are at the thing. But it doesn't sound like what Ghost is saying. Yours are like when you see like maybe at a gun show or something, or I've seen them at these art shows that happen out here in the desert. We get these like rock and mineral kind of shows, and they'll have these, I don't know what they are, some sort of wood from Asia, and they're like lightweight like bamboo, but they're solid, so they're more substantial than balsa, but they're very lightweight. Anyway, they'll carve guns out of that, and it's just a big wooden solid thing, just highly detailed carving. You're talking about something like that, right? Where it's like a model. It's not like a working thing. It's more like a model of it, the things that he's making, and then they're in the natural wood. They look like wood grain, and stains them different colors, but they're wood grain mostly.
Yeah, he'll take, let's just take for instance an AR, okay, and so he'll take forever, and they're to scale, and they're the actual sizes. It's almost like he takes a mold and then like carves. I don't know how he does it exactly, but carves the wood around these molds. But you see, I mean, everything. It's very detailed, but it's wood that he stains. It's beautiful. It's just gorgeous.
But it's the wood grain and everything. The ones that J.M. Davis, the guy painted, right? So they look like the gun. It's just that if you pick them up, it'd be lightweight because it's made out of wood. But yeah, you look at them and you're like, wow, this is just an interesting collection of guns. It's one of the things at the J.M. Davis. And then you read it and you're like, wait a minute, these are all carved out of wood. But he painted, the guy at J.M. Davis, he painted all his to look realistic, I guess, or real. All right, well, so I don't know. I guess I'll just add those marshmallow ones. And I guess they used to be cork guns back in the day, but now they make them like those bags of mini marshmallows, which I think is cooler because then the dog can run around eating all the marshmallows.
Yeah, when you sell those at the fairs and stuff here in Texas during the summertime, and kids are running around shooting marshmallows that are melting on the hot sidewalk. People are stepping in them. Yeah.
You can buy the little baby marshmallows, but then in all the different colors. Like you could buy that bag of colored marshmallows and then separate them and do like a baggie of green and a baggie of whatever the colors are. And then, then you have the kids try to shoot them in each other's mouth, right? Or shoot them up in the air and catch them.
Right.
Shoot them up in the air and catch it. But anyway, so that, and then at Dodge City, I remember there was ones made in Kansas. We've talked about them before. And they were just interesting. They were made on some kind of a laser, it looked like, and they were skeletonized. They were flat, and you could kind of assemble them. They were sort of a puzzle. They ended up being a rubber band gun, real similar to what you guys were talking about. It's just that they were sort of a kit. So you got the, sort of a Rector set, not really Rector set, but more like a, puzzle kit that you're putting together. And then when you're done, you've got a working, at least seemed pretty solid, little multi-shot rubber band gun. They had a couple of different models of them. And it's a Kansas company, so it's kind of neat too. Not something being made in Hong Kong and just packaged and sold over here as a toy. Although I don't know how many of those. Most of the time, wooden guns like we're talking about are made locally by people, sold at a gun show or at gun shops, right? Like I guess a couple of. That's not true. Those things that you buy at like a souvenir place at like Six Flags or something, I don't know about, probably Disneyland also, they'll have like that cheap rifle and they'll have those cheap Derringers. Those things might be made in China. They're not really cap guns or nothing. They're just like piece of wood. They got some piece of metal that look like barrels. They got a trigger. They got some hammers. You know what I'm talking about? It's like really cheap flintlock looking things.
Yeah.
I'll bet you those are made in China. But most of the things that we've been talking about are the things that, like, say, somebody's making in some kind of a wood shop, or maybe even with
You know, and
things.
well, and the other thing too is some of those, we're talking about these, but some of the, sure enough, if you've ever frequented any antique shops and stuff like that, some of the old toy guns are very, very expensive. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, they were built, 100+ years ago, by a company, and they were left out in the rain and the dirt and I mean, obviously they, unlike a real firearm that might have been taken care of somewhat. I mean, it was a toy. Kids didn't care. You know what I mean? I mean, I've got left in the woods or this, that, and the other. So to see some of the truly old ones, old toy guns like that, wooden guns and stuff that survived is pretty cool.
Dude, there's only so many toys made, and then, like you said, everything you said, but then also think about how many moms were chomping at the bit for their kid to get sick of that toy or forget about that toy for 5 minutes so they could throw it away. Because, you know what I'm saying, that's a particular toy that I'll bet your moms did not mind the kid outgrowing and then it just being out of there. Where, like a football or something might just be stuck in a closet forever.
Oh, that's a possibility too. Entirely possible. On the story I've got with wooden guns, I mean, to an extent, is we had a guy call me one day, and he wanted to donate 2 cricket rifles that belonged to his 2 daughters, and they were older. They were teenage years or something like that, and had kind of outgrown them or whatever, and wanted to donate them to our club. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I mean, it was like their first rifles, you know what I mean? And he was like, oh yeah, they want to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay, So anyway, I met him, and he donated them, and their names and like this flowers and different things were like carved into the stocks on them. So, but he was adamant about, they wanted to donate them, and all this other stuff. So I took them, but what I did, I got home and got to thinking about it, and I thought, man, that was something really cool that these kids did, to help out other kids or whatever. And so what I did is I ordered 2 new stocks and put 2 new stocks on them. And then what I did is I used like dowel rods and the little round balls and little wooden wedges and stuff. And I basically built a barreled action out of wood for each of them, painted it black, and put it all back in the original stock that they had. And then I met the guy later on. It took a while to do that, of course, but I eventually met the guy and gave them back, so at least they would have something they could hang on the wall, to at least remember their first rifle. But they turned out pretty good. I've got pictures somewhere. That was years ago. I don't know if I've got pictures on, probably not Instagram, but there's probably some pictures somewhere buried on Facebook of those. And they actually turned out pretty good. It was a wooden action in the cricket stock. It's pretty neat.
All right, so I played with those a lot. Every time, I think probably, I never really asked him, but I think probably every time my dad would get something that broke stock or whatever and wasn't worth anything, he would do the same thing. Put a piece of pipe in there, put a piece of metal rod or something. He kind of played around, probably had whatever he had, or maybe he was playing with developing it, because he made me a bunch of these. But whatever stock he'd have, some piece of metal. A lot of times he used, like a kind of clothespin that doesn't have a little springy thing. It's just made out of one piece of wood, and it's got sort of like a duckbill looking thing on the other end. It's kind of like that ball shape. He would cut that and use that as a charging handle a lot of times, or bolt handle, which is, worked out pretty good. And then paint them up, and then I'd run around with those. They didn't do nothing, but look cool because they were real stocks, So when we were playing Army Number 1, I had a ton of those. Like I had at least a dozen of those. And so we could arm up, and those would be like our throwaways. We could throw them around. They were super fun, and no consequence. My dad didn't care if I threw them around or whatever. They all had slings on them. He'd put a couple of eye bolts and whatever cheap, the equivalent of like an SKS sling back then was probably a carbine sling. and one carbine slings were probably like a dime a dozen back then. We'd have those on everything, and that way we could have a gun over our shoulder and then running around with our, whatever it happened to be at the time that shot something, BB guns or those little rubber guns or discs or whatever it would have been. Oh, and then the thing about those, whenever he would leave a pipe in it and not like every once in a while he'd put a pipe in it and then screw through the pipe to hold it to the stock because he wasn't thinking about this. Maybe I bugged him about it later, but every once in a while he'd leave the pipe long, right? So however long the barrel would be on a gun, and then we could jam or drop bottle rockets down it, and that was awesome. You drop a bottle rocket, and now you shoulder, a rifle, and
That's right.
Super fun as a little kid.
Yep. It worked. It worked depending on the diameter of the pipe. It worked with a Roman candle too.
Oh yeah, that would be good. I never had like a version.
You had like a fully automatic, with a Roman candle.
Yes, and very cheap. Those stocks cost nothing. They're like in bins. Sometimes take them or just don't want to throw them away, kind of thing.
All right.
Okay, so unless anybody wants to throw in on that as a wooden gun, because that's a super valid wooden gun, and I encourage Clover to do a video if you can. I'll do a video. I still have all mine. Now what I do with them as a grown person, I have them out around the house. And guess what? If some dummy comes in here and it's dark and they grab one and run, dummy, you've got like something that maybe is cool with a Roman candle or with a bottle rocket. That's about it. You stole some of my childhood memories, but not a real gun, dummy. So I think of them as like, just kind of neat to have around, and then
decoys.
Yeah, is that the word? Yeah. So anyway, and it's not like people break into the place and grab stuff very often, but whatever. We delude ourselves with whatever we want. If anybody doesn't have anything else, then I'm going to bring up a topic that I got when Tardot was talking earlier. Back when you were a kid, assuming you had guns or toys or BB guns or whatever your first version of your own guns was, what was that setup? So for me, it was one of these things that we'd never recommend anymore, like the old wood. Oh, see, Ghost jumped out of here. Was he afraid of this topic? Guess we'll have to find out. So the old kind of racks that you'd put on the wall, like what you'd have for pool sticks next to a pool table, right? Just like a weird piece of wood with some scallops in it, and a little cup at the bottom. I guess at some point people thought that was a cool way to keep their guns around. It's super unsafe, right? You can just leave them out, super unsecure, I guess. So I had those things because everybody had put everything into safes, right? So these things were laying around. So I inherited them, or I took them, and that's how I had all my whatever. I had a lot of toy guns, so that's how I had my toy guns. Was in old-fashioned like 1950s racks down in the basement. I had like my section of the basement, and I didn't have Nerfs or anything like that because that stuff didn't really exist yet. But I had my like guns that shot junk, like discs or rubber balls or whatever, and then BB guns kind of separate because they had stuff you needed, right? Parts, screwdrivers, and BBs and CO2s or whatever they need. So they were kind of in their own area. And then I didn't have my guns there because my guns were locked up. But then all those toy ones I was talking about. So I kept them in those kind of racks. So anybody else have toy guns or guns when they're kids? And if so, how was your setup?
I know for the longest time when I was a kid, I had a lot of cap guns, but I never really had a setup as far as storage, like having a rack or anything. But I did have a bunch of the Old West style holsters that I would have hanging around the room, and I'd keep my cap guns in it. And I kind of did, I guess, the redneck type of thing, having them hanging off the bedpost is where they usually were hanging off of. And but that was always kind of cool, is just having the holster to have those guns in when you were playing with them.
Yeah, well, that's like the cowboy equivalent of like firefighters having all their pants on the floor like they do, so they can just jump into them. That's like you take that rig, your dual belt rig, and you throw it over your shoulder, and you got two guns and some ammo right on there.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just, like I said, the holster thing was always just, to me, I was always into the cowboy guns, and so the holster thing was just awesome with those.
That makes sense. Probably got inoculated into that by being in Texas. Couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of it was in Texas, part of it was in Kentucky, but yeah.
No, I could see that. I would often leave a couple of BB guns around in case there was an opportune moment where, for whatever reason, you could wail on a can or something with a BB gun? Did anybody's grandpa used to go like, hey, get that bird or go get that squirrel, knowing full well that like your whole weekend was complete when you actually got like tasked with going and taking out something? There's a thing in the garden, go get it. I don't know if anybody ever had that.
Oh yeah, yeah, had that before.
Be like, oh man, I'm going to grab my BB gun. I got
My
these doing.
my great grandfather, great grandmother, and great grandfather, I guess, absolute crazy for squirrels. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could go out like every day after school. You know what I mean? And they get 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 8 or whatever. But they were always like super freaking ecstatic when I showed up with you know a bag full of squirrels.
See, I was never really that lucky when I grew up. My household, while we had all the toy guns, real guns were real guns in my household were few and far between. But it's kind of how we're raising our kids now. Is I'm wanting to get our son up to that age or up to that point where he's like, just send him out and be like, go grab some squirrels.
For me, it wasn't like for getting them for eating or nothing. It was more like that squirrel, or that rabbit. It was mostly rabbits. Like that rabbit isn't scared anymore. Like a lot of times you can just run around, a rabbit will leave and never come back again. But when the carrots or the tomatoes or whatever is more tempting than some old guy yelling at it, then it would be like, go take care of that rabbit. But it was not like I don't think we ever ate them.
Oh yeah, it's the other way around. For us, it's eaten. Yeah, we're looking for making some squirrel stew and stuff.
Yeah, see, that'd be interesting. And that's definitely, I mean, since the beginning of the country and probably way before. Just don't care about looking back that far. But, right, that's one of the tasks you have for a kid. That's how you start learning and you start getting responsibility and start contributing to the family, right?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, well, so anybody else have any kind of gun setups as a youngin'?
Just my toy box, I think. It wasn't until I got my first real 22 rifle that they started going in the closet, and I'd keep them all lined up in the corner of my closet together. But before that, it was always just a toy box.
Yeah, I had a Foot Locker that most anything that was a quote unquote toy was in, and then when you got into pellet, air, BB, whatever, and then 22 shotgun. I mean, I had one of the racks on the wall, like the 4-gun rack that had like the little door or drawer thing in the bottom of it, so you could keep your CO2 in there, your BBs or your ammo or your whatever. And for my kids that even remotely got into any type of thing with guns, once they got to the point that they had their own, they pretty much got the same rack, in their room with, they were able to put, and I actually adapted because they had bows too at the time, and I didn't have a compound bow or anything. I had the long, the cheap long bows of whatever they are,
Fiberglass or something.
Fiberglass longbow or whatever that you just tweak. You just tweak it and take the string off. So I never had anything crazy, but they had compound bows. So I actually modified, got some big long hooks at the hardware store. Modified the bottom of their gun rack where their bow could hang on there as well. But yeah, the couple of them anyway that were kind of into it and got a couple of guns growing up. They had those in their room, and like I said, brought them up. They safety was taught. They were completely trusted with them, all that kind of stuff. So their guns, I mean, they kind of like me growing up. I mean, they had access to them. So if they wanted to go hunting, they just get them and go hunting, that type of thing. There wasn't really a trust issue with them because it's all about education and they were brought up right.
Gizzard? Anything out there?
Well, now I had the cap guns when I was growing up, but and that was back in the days when they were the paper caps that were on a roll. And I had the toy box. I kept them in. I didn't have my own BB gun until I was probably about 9 or 10. I had a BB gun. I never had a 22 of my own. I got a 12 gauge when I was about 15 or so. So yeah, as far as being a young kid, it's pretty much the cap guns. And then once I got that BB gun, well, that's what I carried around with me all the time.
All right, well, that's two of you just saying toy box. So I've seen, well, I guess you said Foot Locker or whatever, but toy boxes, I've seen really cool organized stuff, and I've seen it, people just throw stuff into a pile. So was there anything cool going on there, or was it like
My toy box was basically the shape of a giant football. It looked like a giant football. And I think those were pretty popular back in the early 80s.
Yeah, my son had one just like that.
Yeah, and so
Really?
there was no way to organize it.
wait a
Like
minute,
I would try, but there was no
your
way.
dad, does your dad live in Kansas? Did your son move to Utah?
Not that I know of. He's in Arkansas.
Okay, that's Ghost. Wait a minute. We didn't ask Ghost what kind of toy box he had. No, seriously though. So you guys just threw them all in there, or did you guys organize them some cool way, or?
We tried, but it never worked out because it was just so hard to do that with. And that's why it wasn't until I got my first real gun that couldn't fit in the toy box. If it would have fit in the toy box, it probably would have ended up in there because I was just some dumb kid. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But it had to go in the closet, basically in the corner of the closet. And then that's when I started getting into, oh, look, I'll line all my guns up and I'll put all my guns here. And then that's when I was like, oh, look, I got a collection, right? And that's when I started paying more attention to trying to keep my stuff nice and organized, and and I was like just so proud of that. Like every friend that came over, opening up my closet, like, look, I got a real gun in my closet. Like, being 7 years old, like in my room, have my own gun in my room. Like that was just like, I guess it's a thing back then. And my gun never hurt anybody, even at 7 years old. But
You
just
got
having-
to realize back in my house, I know a lot of us, and it's a different time now, but back in the 60s, my dad had his shotgun, he had his 22. That's the only guns he had. So he didn't own a safe or a rack or anything. Basically, they were in gun cases and they were in the corner of the closet. And so Dad didn't do anything fancy with his gun, so I didn't know any different. I figured that's what you did, is stored them in the closet. So
I didn't even have gun cases for the guns. Like when we'd go, they would go in the backup in the truck window, in the gun rack in the truck window. When we'd go out shooting, like I didn't even have gun cases or anything for my guns for the longest time.
oh yeah, he had the rack in the back of his pickup. Yeah, during hunting season, we'd have them in there.
So on cap guns, is it the string of like the roll of like paper caps or like the cup caps? Like which ones were better? Which ones did you like?
I had the paper ones because they didn't have the plastic ones yet when I was a kid. Because I'm old, see.
When I was a kid, I kind of preferred the plastic one that kind of actually fit in like your normal revolver.
Yeah, I thought the cup caps were like a big improvement over the paper caps. The paper caps just, and it depended on the gun. So I got to a point to where like I could figure out and kind of know like, oh, this gun's going to work and this one's not, right? And like cap guns were so very popular when I was a kid. And everyone on the block had them. We used to go out and play Army all night long until the parents would get, all the neighborhood parents would just get mad at all the kids running in and out of people's yards playing Army. And I mean, that was just, that was like the life in the summertime. Every night, summertime almost, we'd be out playing night games and playing Army. But you could actually figure out like, okay, this is the gun to get because this one actually works with the string of paper caps. And no, these ones don't work. Like you don't want this kind. It was like gun reviews, but you're like 7 years old.
If you got to where your if your gun wouldn't work anymore, you could take the caps out and you went and got your dad's hammer and just went out on the sidewalk. You could sit and pop them things with a hammer. That was fun too.
Yep.
So more than one of us have played cap gun wars or whatever. It sounds like For us, it was if you're running from here to there, and somebody I'm trying to remember a long time ago, but when we were all playing with just cap guns for whatever reason, we weren't allowed to shoot each other. People were watching or something, and we would, or maybe little kids or something, or somebody's house where they wouldn't let us shoot at each other with stuff. Then it would be like you'd run in between here and there. If somebody got 3 shots at you, like bang, 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 then that was, that was a score or whatever, whatever we call it. We never really paid much more attention. It's just like, oh, I got you, and then you keep running, and then you'd still be in the fight. So there's only 4 of you, right? So something like that is how we played. So that's where a working cap gun like Dead Horse is saying is critical. Like if you're going to be like, you only get, however long did it get 3 shots off, and yours, how for us, the springs would go goofy, and you'd pull the trigger, and it would just be like gummy, like nah, 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 and nothing would happen, right? Like something got off track in there, or the pin broke or something. So, and then of course caps. So if you've got bad caps, or you didn't take care of your caps, or if it wasn't feeding the caps good, then you only get a chance for a moment to get those 3 shots off. Like it mattered a lot. Like if you got a good cap gun, or one of those like cheap garbage kind. Although it's not like we were shopping for them, it was more like less of reviews and more like haul butt to wherever it is that all those were at and try to grab the good ones out of there quick. And I guess there was some amount of like knowledge. There was going to be a big bucket or something, or like say a toy box full of cap guns, knowing which ones had the best probability of being a good one.
It really was like gun reviews, because like one kid would get one that worked like super, super good. And then like every kid the next week had that same gun.
No, that was true. Exactly. As soon as one you knew worked, then everybody would get it, because they didn't cost that much, I guess. We all get them pretty quick. And your parents must have known that they wear out and you get them fairly regularly. And then you'd use the old ones. I mean, at least we'd keep the old ones around for like, I don't know, we'd just carry those around also. Use them like without making any noise, I guess, just have them. All right, anybody else want to put in on setups, displays, arsenals, preps as a youngin'? Anybody prep anything as a youngin'?
Gunpowder's saying hideaway walls, but she's pointing out more so because when she was saying when she was a kid, her dad actually kept a lot of their, even if it was like 22, any of that, a lot of those guns in a hideaway wall that he actually built into his wall, because she was saying she didn't have a whole lot of the toy guns. It was more of BB, pellet, 22s and up. And that was kind of their setup with the guns.
I like the, well, now I have these like 2-door cabinets that sometimes I'll have shelves in them. Sometimes they're just sort of like a closet, metal closet. I got them at school auctions, really cheap, $5-10 for something that would cost way more, hundreds maybe. We bought it new somewhere, especially from a school, because they're usually pretty well made. But those, I think, if you have room for it, something like that would be kind of cool, kind of like Punisher or something. You have these doors so you could close them, and you kind of have, as a kid, you'd be able to do whatever you want in there. It's sort of like a school locker on steroids, really big. It's almost like a garage for a little kid, especially the size of toys and stuff. So you could have shelves in there, you could have long guns, and then the doors could have stuff. And then once you close it all up, it's private, right? I would think that'd be kind of neat. Or maybe a smaller equivalent, maybe something like they sell at like a Home Depot or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I know what her parents had was actually they built into their wall of the house. They took it out not too long ago, but I got to see them right before they were taking them out. But they actually built some shelves, some like shadow box looking shelves into the wall where you could actually open them up, and that was where some of the guns were actually kept.
You're talking about like real guns, or for the kids?
No, this is real guns, because yeah, like I was saying with her, a lot of the guns were even the 22s and BB guns, stuff like that, were actually kept in there. There weren't a whole lot of the like we're talking about cap guns and all that floating around. It was just more of pellet guns, BB guns, 22s, and those were pretty much all kept in there.
Now I remember, and I don't know if this was what the heck it was for now that I'm thinking about it. probably more just to be interesting or something, or maybe just to save space or to be storage. But yeah, my one friend's had sort of this thing that you'd sit on and you could push that away and then it got down to their crawl space or something. But I remember that was turned into like sort of like a fake or an extra playroom, sort of like for the kids, because you couldn't really stand down there. But that was kind of, sort of like having their own secret room. That was strictly for toys and stuff. Though. Anybody else have secret rooms or anything? Garage to yourself?
On top of the carport. So I used to climb the fence. I had a door that led outside my bedroom to the outside, like onto a patio. And then there was a fence right there, and I could easily crawl up and sit up on top of the carport, and just that was my secret room. So it wasn't really like a room or privacy or anything, because you're basically on top of a garage, like a flat garage at that point. But that was my area. That's where I went.
Oh, so you're saying outdoors on the roof?
Yeah, outdoors on the roof. Inside, I didn't really have anywhere like a secret room or anything, except for like, I don't. Yeah, I really didn't have anywhere inside inside the house as like a secret room. But outside on top of the carport, that was like where I'd go. That was like my thing.
We always had caves more than anything. That was hard. We didn't really have, a lot of kids have tree houses and things like that. We had caves. So that's kind of what we did.
Caves would be cooler, I think. Tree houses were neat, but that's a lot of movie business, right? It's a lot of work to make a good tree house, including the tree and then the permission, because you could do anything you wanted and you have permission to do it, and it's not going to be there in the morning. And then longevity and everything, like you can get a clever parent, like a carpenter or guy who's like a good hobbyist, right? And you can get a tree house. It's amazing, but I think that's like few and far between, right? Like I only knew of a couple of tree houses my whole life that were really worth a bunch of time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We've always had access to like dirt work equipment and stuff, which was always nice. But we've always also had access to, because I had an uncle that owned a salvage yard, so we also had access to car parts and car hoods. Man, that's what we used basically for our caves. Is we would get one of the an uncle, whatever, grandfather, whatever, would basically excavate, and then we would take the car hoods and use those as like partitions and like partition everything off the way we want, and then he would just cover it up, and then so we had these intricate tunnels and all kinds of stuff. It was really cool until it caved in on my uncle one day. That wasn't very fun.
Sounds pretty neat. We would be able to do an equivalent to that every winter. They would, whenever there was enough snow to happen, it was, from my recollection, more often than not, they would, you get a lot of snow, but then they plow. And they would plow a lot of snow on top of a lot of snow next to it. So now there's a double lot of snow. And if that ever happened like a third time, it was tall enough for like an adult to barely see over it. And it would take a while for all that to melt. And we would burrow into those things like there's no tomorrow. And we had the tunnels at Chuchai there, like going all over the place. And then that was super fun. And that would last as long as the weather would allow it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for not muting whenever you like wrestled that refrigerator to the ground.
Yeah, was it that loud? I don't even know what I did. All I did was move.
I feel embarrassed for the rest of the panel, and I apologize.
Talk about being professional, right?
I might just have my volume. Sorry, it might not have been that. Anyway, so can everybody see the screen? Nobody's answering. I think me and Gary and Dead Horse are the only ones that are reading the internal. So I'm going to jump over to here and go to, boom, YouTube Live. So we're going to pivot and quit talking about toys and stuff, and probably quit talking about guns to some extent, and steal the Thursday Thunder from Clover. I'm stealing Clover's Thursday Thunder, and we're going to talk about behind the scenes and working the channel and that kind of thing. So earlier today, what was I looking for? Oh, Yankee was all goofy today. I don't know if anybody was watching. Yankee is efforting with Sportings. I think of the name of that store. What's the name of the store in Washington State that Yankee's working with? Sporting something, Sporting Solutions.
Sporting Systems, isn't it?
Sporting Systems. Thank you. That store is attempting to raise $50,000 to fund the legislation to repeal or end against, I guess I don't know what the word would be, for AI 1639, which is infringements on a couple of levels in Washington State. And at this point, it's legislation, so they're paying for the plaintiff's law fees. And Yankee wanted to effort towards that, so he showed up at the store a couple of hours earlier than his normal start time today. So his show was a little earlier, and it's Yankee, so he didn't figure it out right off the bat, and he was farting around. And while I was waiting for him to go live, instead of waiting for his email, which would have arrived, I wasn't sure when it would arrive, right? I just went to this place, YouTube Live, and YouTube Live shows you all of the stuff, I guess, that's live right now. So that's what I figured we'd take a look at, because it blew me away. And plus, I was looking at something live last night in an off-air chat, and it's crazy the weird stuff that's over here live right now. So that's what I figured we'd talk about for a bit. So first off, has anybody else ever gone and explored the just random live stuff that shows up on YouTube?
I do quite often.
I
I
never
have done it. I say I've done it before, and it gets, yeah, like you were saying, there's some, you get some weird stuff, and then you get some just a lot of gaming, especially around midnight. It's a lot of gaming.
Well, I'll give you that. I ignore the gaming because, like you say, it's just most of it probably, really. But the other stuff creeps me out, amazes me, inspires me, and makes me want to just quit doing stuff because it's so weird, right? Clover, have you ever the YouTube does live shows, right?
Yeah, I do now. Wow. Interesting.
And you can watch this stuff on your phone.
Yeah.
So, so like right now, for example, I'm scrolling back and forth and I'm screen sharing. I'm gonna lock it on me. And then exoplanet exploration, planets beyond our solar system. No idea what that is. 20,000 people watching that, though. I'm guessing this live now stuff is probably the biggest stuff, maybe. I don't know anybody know why it shows it to me in this order. Like, I've never even probably clicked on a gaming video ever. So I don't know why it's showing me that second in priority. Can't imagine. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the live now, yeah, that's gonna be your top lives at the moment, and then the rest of it obviously just kind of goes by category.
Okay, so this is just like cross category. This is the stuff that's the biggest right now. So it looks like the biggest thing is this 20. Should I click on this? Can you?
Everyone's using those space and universe videos as those like sleep machines that'll like play waterfalls or something. So that's like the new thing to fall asleep to, is watching space and stuff videos, right? So like that's become a really big thing. So I know tons of people are like, oh, every time when I go to bed at night, I just put on one of these space videos.
Okay.
And they're just listening to some guy talk about exoplanets and the solar system or the creation of the universe or whatnot. That's become hugely, hugely popular.
So 20,000 people. Can you imagine potential there?
Reptilian, approximately 1 million years old.
Am I allowed to watch this, or is this copywriting? It's probably copywriting. That's crazy. I didn't know what that's were. So that's interesting. So it's not really a movie. It's just like a long format video art presentation that people watch.
Well, some of them are just straight up documentaries taken from like the History Channel or whatnot, or and even NASA has a 24-hour channel.
Well, that's a little different. So that's like a legit one. But okay, yeah. So now this is some game one. NBA's like sports, real action music. That definitely sounds like what you're talking about, right? So Now you get recent stuff, who cares? Upcoming, who cares? Live now technology. Now you're talking your NASA space videos, 258, 10, 6, 2. All right, so there's not that many people paying attention to whatever all this writing is. 124. Let's see what that is. People all over the world, so this might be noon for somebody, right? Oh wow, this looks weird. What do you think this is? Godzilla? Godzilla? Like this is where he was last?
It almost looks like geological maps or something like that.
Yeah, with all this stuff going on, and it definitely seems more complicated than weather or something, right? I guess this could be weather, but yeah, this is interesting. I like it. That would be the coolest like background for all you guys doing green screen. You're welcome. Grab this. This would be the coolest background for green screen. Man, you look super official. Like I'm internationally official. Anyway, so I don't know what that is, but it's not even music. There's no audio at all, and 124 people are watching it. You get these critters. Now, I've seen these critters back when we first started gun channels. There was a bunch of people that had a fixation rage against animal videos. Do you guys have any opinion at all on animal videos where they just show a live stream of some animal doing something?
No, not really. I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other because I guess I just don't watch that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
I really don't either, but Gunpowder's saying that kittens get hurt all the time.
Where it's like maybe a foster place and they've got like literally just kittens, like a webcam pointed at like the little bin or whatever the kittens live in, or maybe like they're just getting old enough to walk around a little bit. This to me seems like maybe this is an actual webcam. Big Bear Bald Eagle Nest Cam. Yeah, like this seems like, but this looks like an old-fashioned webcam, where this is just probably infrared, so that this guy isn't sitting in light or nothing that he can see, or that we think he can see, even though he has different rods and cones that we got. But so he's obviously not affected. He's sleeping, and then we can see probably what the town maybe in the background. That looked like a car moving.
It's like the Truman Show with animals. So it's like a lot of these things are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Moving. I think this is a car moving somewhere. But yeah, this is more like, well, this is interesting. This is somebody stuck a webcam on a freaking Big Bear Bald Eagle nest. So this is a bald eagle baby sleeping, or maybe I'm assuming. I don't know. Is this the mom or something standing here? I don't know what's going on. But you know, this is a more legit, I would say, wildlife one, as opposed to the foster place, or like this one looks like a zoo or something. So okay, so the animal stuff. Regular people, maybe you just want a break and you don't feel like looking at the news, being programmed by some kind of agenda-based garbage, right? You just want to take your mind off of something, and why not look at a critter? But I'm thinking little kids, you know, okay, I'm going to sit some little kid down in front of something that has agenda-based values, and it's like literally, you know, people went to college to figure out how little babies' brains work so that they could create the right colors and shapes of cartoons to like program messages into them to either buy or consume or do whatever, or show a video of a giraffe mom caring for the baby or licking it or something. Like it's probably not some kind of a message getting portrayed other than giraffe moms lick their babies, right? So I could see this being like interesting for kids, but then I'm also thinking like for therapy, like if somebody's at all the different ways that you might not be able to really be paying attention or functional, and have something like this on that, you know, is a critter. Your mind, you know, your eyes might be seeing it, and that might be helping somebody come back from somewhere, or keep their mind focused on something or something through some kind of horribleness. So I can think these. I've always thought these things have some potential out there, even though they might seem like nothing. Especially like the kittens, or like you know, puppies or something that are just barely rolling around, opening up their eyes and stuff. Think about how therapeutic that could be for people that are.
I watched a YouTube video that was talking about, I think it might be the most popular cat or kitten channel. And so they have 24-hour webcams that you can watch about, you know, all these different cats running around in this, you know, looks like a apartment or a flat or something. And but then they go back and they watch and edit those videos and cut them up into like maybe a 2-hour video or an hour video or something, and they narrate it. Like, oh, here comes Tony, and Tony's climbing up the curtains. And like, oh, look, Sammy doesn't like Tony climbing up the curtains, and Sammy's going to go over there and swat at Tony. And so someone will come back and narrate those videos, and those seem to just get a huge amount of hits and interest. And then when that one real funny thing happens between those two kittens, then they put that up there as like a 30-second video, and it becomes viral.
That's probably a whole nother subject, but I'm just whipping through these lives. I didn't want to get too bogged down in a specific one because we haven't even barely scratched the weirdness or the variety of live stuff. So, okay, so now we're down to mobile, which I guess is the only thing linking these together is that it's done on a phone versus a computer, right? But you might as well get a complete random assortment here. I don't really go down that one because I don't like looking at people's shit the wrong way, you know? I hate looking at it up and down the wrong way. And pretty much you're guaranteed that these people are holding it the wrong way because they're on phones. Then you got, somebody was saying about the slot, the guys doing lottery tickets. Like, we found them years ago, and I try to block it out. But there was some guy, you guys ever seen the lottery ticket people where they scratch lottery tickets, they get those kinds that cost like $25, so there's all kinds of stuff to scratch off, and they'll just like slowly do that live, and then people super chat money so that they go buy more. And then I forgot the scam. There was some sort of scam that, like, if you had, or maybe if you sent him a scratcher and it paid off, you got 25% of the winnings or something like this. So there was this whole thing that just seemed like such a, if it wasn't a blatant, like such a close to being against the rules of the platform, you would think. But now you get this kind of thing like slot machines. You think that's the casinos putting up webcams of their winners, or is that individuals who go to different casinos and somehow film themselves win in slot machines?
Probably both.
This guy says banned again, casino live stream. So that's the mobile ones. I'm going to quit looking at that. Strawberries, full moon influences and zodiac. So I thought I was going to not look at it, but full moons and strawberries. This is going to be pretty good, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say the strawberry one looked like it'd be a pretty interesting one. And then there's a last one on there that I could see being somewhat educational with a guy baling straw, kind of give the farm life, I guess, perspective of things.
On this one, the mobile, or somewhere else?
Yeah, it was right there on the mobile where you were just at. It was baling straw live. At least, show some. People would be able to see kind of that country life there, I guess.
There you go.
Oh, why did I
Unless
think
it's just him talking.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So
That
he's in a baler.
That social welfare, that needs to go away. We got rid of the
Okay. Yeah, he's giving commentary too. I didn't realize that.
That's super cool. Well, how neat is that? Now, if somebody who's out there obviously getting work done doing it, obviously this machine gives them enough, what do you call it, quiet to deal with this thing with his headset and what. That's neat. I wonder how many people he had live. So I'm looking like an idiot at recent. So these are, oh, so what did I do? Dang it. Whenever you drop something like that, you can go to history and grab it back. And not only is it going to show you that window that gets closed accidentally, but you can still go backwards from it to wherever I was before. So you don't have to go wasting your time looking for everything again. Going back to live, which is over here on the left.
Now, I will say something I've done with the live page too before was when we've had, whether it's just a couple or a lot of our gun channel crew going live, I've actually looked on there just to see if anybody popped up, and I've yet to see anybody pop up on there, but just be kind of an interesting thing just to watch and see if someone does jump up on there.
Oh, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. I used to do it all the time. That's one of the reasons I encourage the thumbs, because historically, I guess, like at the beginning of gun channels and before there was gun channels and just people were doing a lot of live streaming, we got up on the main page regularly, and it was pretty much just an effort. I guess there must have been fewer people doing live streams. I don't remember anything like 29,000 views live to watch. Or that's after the fact. But, some of these that had 20,000 views live, I kind of think 14,000 views live. Well, that's sports. But even 1,000 views live, that was not the norm. But back then, I'm not finding it now. Is there a different live, or is there something else I could click on? Maybe it was just in something like this. But I found some people like I don't know. I guess you can't get more than just the sample, like who are live at the or like who's the most live at the moment right now, or who's the largest live at the moment right now.
I'm pretty sure that the Smarter Everyday guy said that these are based off of not like your search history, like the recommended videos. They're based on these recommended ones that are going to pop up in here. They're based on like a much broader spectrum of like Google searches and stuff like that, what's trending and stuff. That's why you're going to see video game stuff in there that you've never never seen before, right? That you've never looked it up, because it's just a very broad spectrum. So I don't think any of these are like, oh, this is like a recommended thing because of your search history or anything on the lives.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because number one, there's sports in there, and I wouldn't look at anything sports. And video games, same thing. I don't look at any of that stuff. So it's only recommending me that stuff because, wait a minute, which channel am I on? I'm on the wrong channel. That's why.
So,
this is
one thing
channel, so I can't get to it. But when I was on the other channel and I was digging around in live, what I was trying to find was, and I was gonna highlight, but then also get your guys' opinion of, I can't find it and I don't know what they were. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do know what they were called. Wait, maybe this is it. If it's this, then I can show you. Otherwise, I'll quit looking. But it was basically a lady and her brother sitting on a porch. Nah, I couldn't find it. And they were, okay, here we know, I found it. Right, I'm about to show it to you, and you're going to tell me your opinions of this. So, this is their video. Has anybody ever heard of this channel before?
Yes, I have.
Oh, really? So is it a big thing that I just didn't know about already?
No, I don't think it's that big.
Okay.
They've had a couple viral videos, though.
You guys heard about this one?
I haven't.
Heard on? Over?
Yeah, I don't. Didn't look like it. What's the name of it?
Shooting the Shit. Or no, Shoot the Shit.
Oh, okay. No, I don't believe so.
So what you're seeing here is what I found the other minute ago when I was going to look at live stuff. Oh, not this commercial for... Oh, are you kidding me? It's an hour-long commercial. First, I dislike it, and then I skip it. That's how I win. So, well, I could get a YouTube long-term contract. So basically, this is what I seen live, except it was nighttime. What happened? Oh, I guess that's the whole video. So you see what's going on here?
That's just their introductory thing for their channel that they have up. That's not really one of their videos.
Okay, but it's symbolic of every video I've seen, because I only looked at one, but whatever. So, lady and her brother, except this one was at night and they were smoking cigarettes. But instead of farting around like this, they must fart around because they have 12,000 subscribers. She was saying stuff like, we need money. And if you got money in your wallet, we need it. So send it over, but don't do it with Super Chat. Do it with this PayPal link. And we need the money now. And if you got it in your wallet, give it to us. And it was like going, and I'm not even exaggerating to make a point. Like, that's pretty much what she was saying. And this guy was just moving his hair out of his eyes and smoking a cigarette. And people were chatting. There was 146 people watching. And Kathy would drop $100 and she'd go, thank you, Kathy, dropping another $100 to that PayPal. And then I quit watching. I didn't know what to say. So what do you guys think? That's on YouTube.
It's like Gunpowder just made the comment, genius. Hey, I'm kind of torn between that. I mean, on their behalf, yeah, it's kind of a genius concept there, but from perspective, like my perspective of it, yeah, kind of a lazy thing there to me. I mean, to be honest, there's people that really do want to just go watch that type of stuff or have that kind of background noise and just be in a chat room and that's it. And I mean, that concept, there's room for that out there. But when you look at the thought, like in my eyes, it comes out to that money could be going to something better, something more beneficial. But hey, everybody spends their money how they want to in the end.
Well, one thing about those guys is that they're pretty straightforward and honest about it, though. I mean, they're not saying like, "Oh, I got cancer, send me money," or this or that. There's a lot of that going on out there.
No,
These guys are pretty straight. They took a straightforward approach, and they're just straight up like, "Hey, send us money."
Yeah, they're just like the money helps out, so that we don't have to worry about the little things.
This is true.
And they do have their moments. I have seen a couple of their videos because they have had some videos, I guess, go viral or whatnot. And they have their moments where they are pretty funny. Like, they do make some good jokes or have a good conversation that's just kind of hysterical. And whether you're laughing at them or with them, that's something else. But, but they're really straightforward about just asking for money. And I guess that's the thing when everyone else is, doing the opposite of that. They're just really straightforward about it. Send us money. Like I need to go buy a carton of smokes.
Yeah, it's like that. So is it like every video it's like that, or is it like once in a while they'll be like, "Hey, bills are due. We need money. We're out of cigarettes. I want to go buy."
I'd say they mention it every video, but that's not like the basis of every video. And I wouldn't say that they hit you up hard like every video, like every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. They're not really putting it in your face, but they're definitely not afraid to mention it and throw it out there.
Interesting. So you look at like the people on the side of the road. Does anybody ever watch those things about how much people on the side of the road make?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So how much? I don't know. Has anything come to mind? Has anybody seen anything or anything?
I've never heard like an exact amount of what some of these people make, but I mean, it's been enough that people have been able to support. Like when you're talking people on the side of the road, I've heard of people being able to support families off of that and make it a full-time job pretty much.
That's what I've heard too. But what was the name of that platform? And I'm drawing a blank. Where Yankees thing was tonight? Not Indiegogo, and it's not Kickstarter. GoFundMe. So I was helping Yankee on his GoFundMe thing earlier, right? And it struck me as interesting. Is this his? I think it's his. I'll screen share again. So I don't know if anybody was watching that, but again, Washington State is having issues. They've had them before, but now they're dealing with this thing called 1639. Hey, look at that, 1639, and they're at $1637. Anyway, they're trying to raise money for. Scroll down a little bit. My mouse is not operating tonight. A portion of these funds provide some funds. Funds will provide some funds to help cover the plaintiff's legal costs and provide funds for the plaintiffs to appear in court. Those funds are going to be funding a lot of funding. But the portion of the funds will pay directly to this law firm lead counsel for this lawsuit. It means that all the donations will go directly to supporting the legal effort to defeat 1639 in the courtroom. So basically, they're raising funds for that. So that's great, and let's encourage people to participate if you want to. But what I wanted to look at was this 265 brings in $16,000, right? So that's a pretty neat ratio. But what I thought was neat about GoFundMe is they just happen to show this down here. So these are actually fairly substantial. 260, 10, 5 though, 55. I don't know how many of them they'll show. Has anybody ever looked at this? But this is insightful because unless you run a project, how do you know how to, market research or whatever, how you know how many people are going to donate over 25 or over 50, right? Like whatever your waypoints are. Now this one does seem pretty high. So I suspect when those people are doing that chat, they're not getting these people to drop $50 at a time or $100. Although when I was watching it for moments today, Kathy or somebody dropped 100, and the sister of the brother the lady live, she said, "Thanks, Kathy, for dropping another 100." So, I don't know what kind of level of people are watching that show. And this one has like a 250 and 100. So this one's definitely extraordinarily high. So let's say that let's drop not just a dollar, 10% off or whatever, so that this is $2 and this is $10. Let's do that. Let's drop a zero off, right? We drop a zero off, and now it's $1, $5, actually $1, 50 cents, $2, $2, right? So if we drop a zero off, then when we go back up and look at how much this thing's made, it's made $1,600. So 265 people drop in somewhere between 50 cents and $2 a piece, brings in almost $2,000. So if your whole thing was to attract 200 people to throw $2 at you, that could accumulate pretty quick. And
well, just what you have right there is on average $60 per person. So that's 16,000
down to 16. Yeah. So if you take it from 16 down to 16, I mean from 16,000 to 1,600, you could take that 60 down to $6 per person.
Yep.
Yep.
So I don't know. So yeah, if you did a show that you just did something interesting and then said, "Give me, I don't know, $6," then if you could get 200 people to do that, then you got YouTube fees and stuff. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. That was neat, and I thought that was the weirdest video that I'd seen since the scraping the we call them lottery tickets, which I can't believe in any way, shape, or form fits their toss. Like, that's gambling, and it's weird. I don't know. It just seems like it would violate toss to me in terms of service.
A lot of that's going to depend on what kind of views are coming in and what kind of super chats probably are being raised.
Super chat's a whole different thing, right? Because you're right. If they're getting $1,000 in super chat, that means YouTube made $300 hosting that video. So that's got to go a long way to the videos that I've ever made that never brought in $200 with super chats altogether, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't, and things aren't always what they appear. Like I can think of people that have been caught basically sending themselves like super chats or PayPal things, right? To help encourage other people doing it. I've seen people called out there for that before, like video game guys or whatnot.
Well, that's probably a good idea to do that. I mean, I don't think too many piano guys that are people doing something on the side of the street. Everybody primes the tip jar. That's how you let people know it's a tip jar and not your hat just laying there, right? I can understand doing that. Or having friends that kind of basically throw $5 around. Imagine if you're going to eat up a lot of money to YouTube during the process, but it might be an interesting experiment if you're going to do a show that is going to invite new audience, to invite your friends to drop $1 in, or $2 or $5 or whatever, knowing that you're basically going to drop that back in their next show where they're going to have new audience, sort of or priming the tip jar. I don't know, would you consider that unscrupulous, or is that business practice?
I like the idea.
I'd consider that a pretty good business practice, and it kind of makes me curious when you look at the people who do a lot of big super chats on anybody's channel. Is it the draw of when they see those smaller ones, they kind of want to be the bigger super chat, or is it just hey, here, have the money? Because I could see that becoming something where almost like a bidding war in a sense, where they're just trying to see who does the most money there in the end.
I'm pretty sure, because I've seen people drop substantial super chats that I've never seen before. So YouTube doesn't eat them all. You know what I mean? They don't eat 100% of them and then start kicking me 30 to 60%. So I'm pretty sure there's people that are playing some super chat, like Stolen Valor, where they pledge money, and then anytime really, there's nothing that says, "Oops, that's not a super chat anymore." I mean, they could literally pull the money immediately, I guess, because I've seen. Well, we had I've had chats lately that people super chat, and I don't have anywhere near what the one of the super chats were. So definitely people drop and then undo or use. I don't know what the deal might be. Maybe I don't know. I haven't thought about doing it, so I haven't explored how to do it. But maybe it's a refund, or maybe it's using one of those cards that doesn't work or something. You can go get one of those cards at the grocery store on the checkout, the plain empty cards, and just charge it with $20 or something. Once the $20 is used, I'm thinking maybe you use that to do things. And even though full well it's not going to go through, maybe it goes through enough for these things to allow a super chat to happen. And then it just never shows up because there's no money ever collected. But anyway, so I think that could be a thing for sure. People want to change the color of their thing or get talked to. There's a lot of those super chat strategies for the hosts, right? Is to focus on the ones, $50, holy moly, $100. Let's make sure that guy gets recognition for that contribution. And then you never see it again. So that guy just basically was playing with the colors.
Right. Yep.
And there's something interrupted. So there's like that, we were kind of talking about it, I think, in the side chat or something, but I don't think we said it live, but maybe we did say it loud. Anyway, the text exists, especially now that the way YouTube is set up. And for now, at least, if you put out there $100 super chat from so-and-so, there's nothing that shows up in a minute and says refunded to so-and-so. So now you look like big shot deal. Hey, I just donated $100, and that's on some big shots video, right? Oh, wow. Like I'm watching the replay to this and I'm one of the other 1,000 people watching the replay. Look at so-and-so over there dropping $100. Wow. That guy never left any money on YouTube. He just kept dropping it and with just like the quarter with the string on it.
Well, then you got the flip on that too, like you were talking about. If you wanted to prime the pump, so to speak, and I think that would be a whatever, a less than honest way to do it. But if you knew how that's how they were gaming the system or whatever like that, right? Then set that up and everybody go into everybody else's chat and everybody's dropping 20, 30, $100, whatever, and people see that, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, good Lord, I mean, I come in, Tardot come in, Gizzard come in, and I mean, we all drop $20 to $50. Well, it don't take very long with other people dropping that legitimately, and you've got significant money there.
Now, I don't know if I do it for $20. Number one, I wouldn't want to trigger. That's almost manipulation. If somebody's got a weird glitch where they're like, oh, I've got to compete, or I don't know what the glitch would be, but you know what I'm saying? If you're triggering something where it's almost a reflex, I wouldn't want to manipulate somebody. And if it is some sort of like bravado, then that's almost, again, manipulation to some extent. But at $2 or something, just to let people know, hey, this is a tip jar. I'm just thinking, that's almost, I can't think of too many people that are going to regret a $2 tip for something that they appreciated, at least once, maybe more if they enjoy the show ever again. But I'm thinking for those people, like, again, if you're going to have a show with a guest who's a bigger channel or on a topic that's potentially going to get viral-ish or whatever, even just having those things like Dead Horse just did. Someone skims through the video and they see a bunch of colored little bars go by as the text chat scrolls by. There's something to that, right? Shows that maybe if a sponsor, well, is that manipulative? Is that getting past the line of morally capitalistic, if that's a word? If you do that and then a sponsor comes by and goes, wow, look at the reaction. This guy gets, multiple dollars as soon as he starts up a chat. You know, that's not technically what's happening there. Is that manipulating a sponsor? Is what I'm
No,
saying.
I don't think so.
I
Now,
wouldn't necessarily think so.
you've got to be really careful, because if it's something that you are manipulating in any way, and then the situation arises where you do have a sponsor, you do have somebody that's looking at that, and that's they're looking at that and they're going, okay, well, this is what this guy's got coming in, is generating, whatever, and then you're not able to ever reproduce that again. They're gonna start, questioning, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Oh, and they should, right? Like you're priming the pump to get something going,
Right.
and then showing that off. Like,
Right.
look what I got going now, right? That's
Yeah.
one. But yeah, just to show them the like, here's what we're gonna do, and show them
Mhm.
the money shots. What about the other way around? What if you're a gun shop and you're spending? I like to use my experience. My experience was typically an advertising campaign would be about $300-400 or more. If they were going to do radio or television, a bit more. But if they were going to do like a newspaper or a bench somewhere, or maybe a signage at a statewide event, or a gun show, something or another, or some special thing came along, maybe even uh, little league or something, or a bowling league or something wants a sponsor for their team. They're you're looking at about $500 ish, right? A little less, a little bit more, depending on the campaign. So if a gun shop is going to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 for each advertising campaign, so a successful shop might spend thousands of bucks a month on $500 campaigns. They have one campaign that costs $1,500, whatever, right? Something like that. A small shop is probably going to struggle, but do like at least one $500-ish campaign, a couple of $200 campaigns, right? All gun shops are going to do something to spend money. I mean, for marketing, right? To spend money on marketing. Assuming that's the case, thanks, Pink. Then, damn it, give me $5, and I'm thinking, dang, that actually does help buy some food. So, if you've got this budget for marketing, what if you went online and took that? Let's not even, let's say you normally would spend $500 Let's say you took $200 and you decided that's whatever, $50 a week, and you're going to drop that $2 at a time, $5 at a time, depending on how many shows you watch. Not just to donate to channels on Patreon, which is super valid, but to do it in a conversation midstream to emphasize a point. That was awesome. So and so channel gun shop logs in and drops a thing. We agree. Kind of like what Sporting Systems was doing today in Yankees chat. He was at their location, so they were logged on and in the chat. I'm sure we've seen that with other shows, either on location or talking about a shop and some representative jumps in. So what about the idea of marketing via live chat, either stupid YouTube garbage super chats, which 30% of it goes to YouTube, or like a Patreon, going around and letting your customers and letting your social media reach as a gun shop know that you spend your marketing dollars promoting Second Amendment content, and not just blah blah blah, but go look at our Patreon and check them out. Here's the 10, 20 channels that we support this month. Sort of like there's examples out there. Sportsman's Guide is doing that. Anyway, what do you think about that as far as just flipping the numbers on super chats?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think that could work.
Weaponizing Patreon, weaponizing super chat, Courage and companies. So let's all give Sportsman's Guide big kudos. I don't know. Do we know how many they support still?
There we go. It's increased substantially since they first did it. I do know that. At first, they were only doing less than 10, I think, and last time I looked, it was more like 15 to 20.
Trying to see if it's going to come up.
I think it's important still to have the super chats on super chats on YouTube, even though they do take a larger percentage and all that. But I think that shows YouTube something, right, in their algorithm,
True.
and probably for like advertising purposes and stuff like that. I'm sure it affects that some way on YouTube. So I still think that if you're going to throw $100 out there, you might not want to do that in the super chat, but a couple bucks here and there, I think is real important, probably for those algorithms.
So here's Sportsman's. They've started in October supporting. They got Guns and Gadgets, Daily Shooter, Tactical California, which is like a California channel. Look at this guy. And then that guy, Hank Strange, the Gun Feed. Heard of them, I think. Some other people in other countries. Some other countries that are here now. Gun Guy TV, people have heard of him, right? Late Boy Scout, Zeke Shoots.
A regular guy like him.
Who? A regular guy?
Yep. He's a trainer.
American Gun Gal, me. Just an opinion. I don't know. Oh, that is a gun one. I was gonna say that doesn't even sound like a gun one. Here's a bow and arrow one though. And Everyday Outdoorsman. So I don't even know how many of these are even only gun related, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them are pretty much 100% gun related, right? So I think that's a great example for other companies out there throwing significant scratch at the creation of content that's going to offer a variety of whatever, not just reach, but content that gets created. You know, it's established, and their support gives these people some encouragement and some financial ability, depending on the level, right? Imagine, again, looking at that. I guess I don't have it open anymore, but you know, how that couple of hundred people throwing. So if a couple of hundred gun shops started throwing around $5 to $50 a month at different projects, or you know, even every once in a while when something super valuable, like maybe the 2A fund. What if Tony had gun shops that they dropped their advertising budget on Tony and said, you do good work with our advertising budget, make sure that we get a little, you know, kudos for helping with the supply drop this month. And then Tony can say, here's the 2A fund dropped by, you know, these 5 gun shops around the country, or these 5 manufacturers or something. And then somebody like KD, you know, has $2,000 more to use for his event, or to plan his event, or you know, I don't know, somebody else has $2,000, $5,000 more out of nowhere, and you know, we start seeing some real growth and change in the strategies we got out there. Movies get funded, podcasts get taken from amateur to professional. People like Liberty Doll can make a decision, you know, wow, that's enough money for me to move, you know, establish my thing over here instead of thinking about it, pay off a debt for somebody and take them from, you know, probably could do this to, oh yeah, I'm going to give this a try. Anyway, that's another tangent. Super chats cut into helping. How do we encourage companies to be like Sportsman's Guide?
Well, I think kind of what you're doing right here is a perfect example. You know, giving them kudos on the things they are doing. You know, like you said, calling them out. And it's not even, to me, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, I mean, doing the promotion for the company is great. But just as simple as a lot of us do patron shout outs on videos and live streams and stuff, you know, doing that and including those companies when you do your shout outs. You just mentioning, hey, they support us over on Patreon. I know Clover mentioned that at one point, and I know a lot of y'all did when Sportsman's Guide started doing that. And, you know, when they start doing that and you throw that out there, you're going to see more companies that start recognizing that is actually a legitimate way to start helping support channels and just to get that going.
I wouldn't even know about what Sportsman's Guide is doing if it wasn't for G. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. So I would say just make it aware, put it out there, help put it out there to other companies and influencers. Hey, look what Sportsman's Guide's doing. Do you know what Sportsman's Guide's doing? And just put that in there and throw it out there to them, and then they'll figure it out themselves.
Well, and it sounds weird too, but you know how even this live stream, if you go and you promote it on Facebook, or if you promote a video that mentions Sportsman's Guide doing it on Instagram, Facebook, any of it, go and tag other companies in it that you may have had contact with previously. And even though you're not necessarily coming out and flat out saying, "Hey, go support us here," you're putting that idea in their head.
Well, that's a great idea, especially a company that's, like you guys have met at Tulsa or at an NRA show, and they're struggling to pay off whatever it costs them to invest in that NRA presence or SHOT Show presence, right? Yeah, that's a great idea because it's a relatively inexpensive way. Again, under whatever their budget is, if it's $200, that at five, well, I guess five isn't that big a deal. For $25, that's still, 8 projects. If I did my math right, yeah, 8 projects, and that's a pretty significant amount. And you're not, just simply sending them out a product that they're going to review once. They're probably going to include you in their branding and their links. You start getting reciprocal links. That's got value, but you're encouraging something that, as it grows, it's just like maybe it's like scratch off lottery tickets, or maybe more like investing in something. But that's what I was trying to get at, is investing in these channels as they grow, and then you invest in somebody, and 2 years later, they're huge and they appreciate what you did, and now you've got access. As a gun shop or a company, you've got access to somebody that you couldn't have dreamt of if you would have just sat there watching them grow. Good luck ever chatting with them, if you didn't pursue that relationship with them originally, coming in out of nowhere and trying to have a conversation with them about sponsorship. Probably get it for pennies on the dollar too, in the long run. If you had to come up to some giant channel after they've established themselves and you didn't help them, hey, can I sponsor you now? No problem. Start writing zeros, where if you've helped them the whole time, you're probably going to get all kinds of gratis appreciation and shout outs and whatever. All right, well, anything else? We've got a lot of dead air. It's late. I'm going to quit doing the show this late, I think. What do you think? Looking for feedback. I already quit the show once. I'm going to quit it again. Sick of quitting. Dead air. Yeah.
In the summertime,
I'm still waiting on the frozen pizza reviews.
Yeah,
I have so many frozen pizza reviews. I'm like bloated. My feet are all puffy because I'm eating all this frozen pizza all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, luckily I used to be super fat, so I have all these fat pants and stuff to wear. But start walking. I ain't even kidding. Like, I've been eating the shit out of frozen pizzas. So I don't know if it's. At first, I was thinking there's no way to lose, right? How could you lose frozen pizza reviews? Right? It has to make
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
The problem is, I don't know how many people are actually going to order frozen pizzas on Amazon. So I might have painted myself into a frozen pizza corner.
Uh-oh.
Invested heavily in frozen pizza research materials, and I don't even know if I'm going to live through it.
I'm seeing a scary trend in frozen pizzas going from round to square. It worries me.
Well, I can't afford the square ones. I should mention that of all the different types of frozen pizza reviews, I'm doing the ones that are under 13 cents per ounce. So that's like the cheapest of the frozen pizzas at any given store, and then evaluate them on what's left. What they do have as far as characters. But I can't afford no French bread pizza. Now you're talking easily 19 cents an ounce, or whatever the little measurement is when they compare them to each other. But yeah, pizzas go from 10 cents on the cheap end, for 10 cents per whatever ounce probably, up to $4. It's insane how much the expensive pizzas are. Maybe it's not $4. Maybe it's like $1 something, but it's insane how much the expensive pizzas are. They can go from $1 for a big pizza, or $2 or something for a giant pizza, to, I don't know, $13 or $18 for a pizza, for a frozen pizza. I don't know if there's magic in there or if, like, comes with some sort of a service or something, but I've only been reviewing the cheap ones. And I have reviewed some microwave ones that I cook in the toaster oven, which is kind of gross. So, a good bonus pizza reviews that shouldn't exist type of thing. But anyway, it's a lot of tangents out of the frozen pizzas, and Midnight's not even out there. Anything you guys want to plug or chat about before we head out?
I'll say early watch tomorrow morning, Free for All Friday. Links will be posted on Gun Channels for anyone to join and share their local 2A news stories or whatnot. 2A related. Feel free to come over to Gun Channels and be part of the early watch, 9 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but Dead Horse has stepped up the lobby game to an entirely different situation. Noise-free, adult conversations, lack of any of the stuff that you might have had an issue with in the past. Incredibly interesting conversations all day long. The only disadvantage to to Dead Horse's contribution to the Gun Channels is it's way more distracting and involved than listening to the radio or watching a movie or listening to music. So yeah, it's difficult to not get into it because you guys are actually talking about guns. It's really been neat. Thanks for doing it, and thanks to everybody on the panels and in the audiences that are, dealing with the transitions that we have as communities to deal with, attempting to evolve and grow. And again, awesome. So if you guys haven't tuned in, daytime is new at Gun Channels,
And it's going great. It's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people are really enjoying it. I've had a lot of response. A lot of people messaging me, thanking me, and to give them a place to come and just be able to come hang out and actually talk guns and stuff like that. And I've had a lot of thank yous from the early watch, bringing back the early watch to put out those 2A news stories every morning and stuff like that. So it's been going really good. So hopefully we can keep early watch alive and keep evolving Gun Channels in the community for the better.
and let's include Every Second Matters in there. It just seems like the logical evolution. If you're going to have a bunch of people that are motivated to take awareness at their local level and can contribute it to a daily morning show, to take that and archive it in Every Second Matters, which is what it's designed to be. And then all the people that have no interest or no ability to watch any of that live garbage, who like to read or that need to have it read to them, or that like to go back and look at it just once a week or once a month or once a quarter. Maybe they work on an oil rig and or what it's called, oil platform or something. They come in and want to absorb stuff like that instead of having to sort through who knows what to get the info. Every Second Matters is supposed to be a place in the noise, a place in the static to find the info from all those different organizations. What's important, either state level or location level, or at the individual issue. Looking at it from the individual level issue, or looking at it from like a state or a location. So yeah, incorporating all that into the new kind of potential that we have over at Gun Channels. That's what it's all about. Getting ourselves motivated, getting ourselves able, and getting ourselves skilled, I guess, but experienced with these tools that we have available with us. Instead of constantly growing and evolving, every once in a while we have to take a moment and say, we've mastered, now let's use. We know how, now let's do. And get as motivated as possible to get everybody aware of what the rope is to pull, and pull like shit on that rope coming into 2020. So I'm really looking forward to motivating and let's just say weaponizing the 2A on our side. Anybody else? Or anything else? Plugs or
Foul Territory tonight. Guess it would be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
What are you talking about?
Pardon?
What are you talking about? What's the topics on Foul Territory tomorrow night?
Not for sure, but I think it's going to be Father's Day themed somehow. Fathers and guns, stuff like that.
Yeah, fathers sometimes like guns.
My dad did.
I'm about to ask what's going on in this picture. So if you people out there on gun channels, which would be my right, I guess. I don't even know how to get over there. People that are in the little green dots over here on gun channels that want to participate and say what's going on in this picture, or I guess people over here who looks like there's a couple of them who want to come up with the best, not caption, but the best description of what is going on. How come I can't get to the right? It's driving me nuts. The best description of what's going on in there. We're about to ask that. So unless anybody else wants to start out, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, just make sure Sunday we got Gun Gals is going to be on Sunday night with Celtic Holsters, so that's going to be a good one this weekend.
As a guest?
Yep, Celtic Holsters is going to be a guest, and then anybody who doesn't follow Gun Gals, make sure to go check them out. Last week they had a good show with I always forget his name from Walk the Talk America, Michael Sodini. So that would be a definite show to go check out.
Right on. And then I'm going to mention Free Patch Friday. It's tomorrow, and I need all kinds of money. So if you've got money in your wallet, I need it. If you've got money, I want it. I'm going to start doing that now. So I posted some stuff over here. If you go to gear, which is like not cards and patches and whatnot, I got some patch panels, and most of those have sold out. I sewed a couple more, and I was able to sew 2 more before my one machine crapped out. So there's a green one with a green logo on it, and I don't know if I have a great image of that, but a lot of orange life going around, a lot of orange life bullying going around, and this is a green one. So if you're living the green life, Clover, for example, Tardot, the members of this chat, live in the more green version of life than some of the oranger ones. Gary, Noxious, Angelina. So this is for those people who have a more green, winter green, mint flavor. I don't know what you guys like green for. What else is green? Spearmint? Or anything that isn't mint that's green? Asparagus. Anyway, there's a green one, and then there's another blue one. So anybody that's interested, there's those. There's some other stuff going up. There's a bunch of sticker packs up here, like this one, I think, which is basically every sticker we have in inventory. So if you need to plaster something, or if you just want stickers that are not your typical gun stickers, or if you just want to support what we're doing, 4570. See that? Because we have no idea what we're doing. We just name things off of calibers because that's cool. And if you got money, we want that money. Got money in your wallet? Put it in our wallet. So tomorrow, everything will go out with free patches, and we'll be doing some other neat stuff because I'm seriously in need of money. So let people know and participate if you want. Otherwise, sharing is appreciated. Otherwise, don't do nothing, I guess. We're capitalists. We can deal with it. Let's go back to here and ask what's going on in this picture. Does anybody want to go first? Does anybody want to go last?
I'll go first.
Dead Horse, what's going on in this picture?
So I'm pretty sure that comes from like a men's pulp magazine from the 60s, which were more like adult comics, and they were always USA versus commies. So obviously these, I'm pretty sure they're American soldiers, are rescuing these women from communists.
What?
That's why he's giving her water.
Number one, you're trying to, I think you're reading a lot into this, but number two, he's pouring it on her knee. That's torture. That's not helping nobody, and that's a Nazi hamburger, for crying out loud. We're having a Nazi hamburger tank. If anything, these women are the Americans.
Oh, I thought that was a deuce and a half in the background. I thought they were like, I thought it was
It's a Nazi water tank or something. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
just from the
could be
pulp
almost
magazines. It was always rescuing these women. It was always Americans rescuing women from the communists.
Yeah, you're anyway. Next, wrong, next. Unless that becomes the best answer. I hope that's not the best. Nobody's even suggesting out here. Anybody? Hard up.
I honestly don't even know where to begin. Other than if it's a German, it shouldn't be a bratwurst. But we can go with hamburger.
Hamburgers come from Hamburg, but I hear what you're saying. Bratwurst, but I don't even know if a bratwurst is a sandwich. Hamburger is definitely a sandwich, but
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
It's no obligation.
I guess they're torturing these women until they decide that hot dogs are no longer sandwiches.
Oh, there we go. See, now we're getting somewhere. Gizzard?
I'm saying these women are probably, they've tied themselves up some sort of hunger strike to protest against guns or something like that. And so these, these regular Americans, gun-friendly people are out there rescuing them, and they're going to force feed them hamburgers.
Oh, it's a horrible, twisted one. Clover? You rescue us from this one?
Well, it looks like it's set in the desert, right? So I'm thinking that's it's not really soldiers. It's a bunch of tactical content creators, and so they're running out of water because they're in the desert, and so they're gonna tie up the gun bunnies and not let them have any water. That way they can make it out of the desert. Maybe, I don't know.
That's good. That's getting there. Still nothing coming out of the YouTube side. Let's see if anything. I gotta unzoom, I guess, to see the chat. Japan earthquake monitoring. I suspect that's from earlier. So I don't know. But anyway, we have some fun with the images, and now we talked about it a little bit. All right. Well, everybody had a good evening. We try to do this show as an alternative to the news of the day, but at the same time, I'm sick of waiting around and watching. As I keep saying, it's like we have these really, really nice bleachers. We get really comfortable watching what's going on, and that plays right into the fuckers who just want us to be puppets, right? So yank on them strings, puppets. It works both ways. You realize that you got strings, start yanking on them. Then once they let go of them ropes, we're individuals, right? So